Getting so many HR leaders and getting business leaders under one roof.
We took this opportunity. It was good to get together, meet lots of old people I've worked with, people from Airtel and Philips, where I've been here working.
I've just gone through it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Very outstanding course.
I'm very happy to meet all of you. I always have a dream, and I have been telling Shankar about my dream that I want HR to grow into CEOs, big leaders in the world.
Change is constant, change is dynamic. Do you have that mindset to change with the times? You need to be relevant to the context.
So happy to be bringing the forum back in person and help leaders connect and learn from an outside perspective. And the launch of Catalyze and the Future HR Leader program made it super special to be doing this beginning again.
It was a good learning session for me.
What you hear here in such kind of platform is going to remain.
There's a lot of learning in terms of what are the things which are going to shape the HR in future.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all our guests joining across the world from whichever time zone are you joining us. Welcome to this very special inaugural series of Orbit Shift by Corporate Shiksha. I say this is super special because we are celebrating 11 years of Corporate Shiksha's existence. And we are super thrilled to be focusing on a series of leadership conversations with some of the top leaders who've seen businesses both in the ups and downs and can bring a lot of amazing reflections, observations, and insights that we can use. A couple of months back, when we were visioning the Orbit Shift launch in September, we were thinking of who could be some special guests that we could kick off this series, and clearly, this name of this tall leader came to our mind, who we had the opportunity to learn from early on in our journey as well. I will talk about him in a bit, but let me talk a little bit about what really is Orbit Shift. Orbit Shift, for in our view, change, as you heard the video, Mr. Dwarkanath mentioned that change is constant, change is dynamic. It's the ability for us to change with the times that makes us relevant. So leadership can be a lonely space. It can, as they say, it is lonely at the top, but it can change. There is a opportunity for us to create a safe space to learn from these leaders and make our journey shift into a positive orbit. When I visualize orbit shift, I think of two things. One, if you visualize how does orbit shift happen in space? It's almost always with a big collision, not a good thing. But the way we visualize orbit shift is, if you can, you know, see my screen, small incremental changes every day can be magical in a long term, and the compounding of that can be huge story of change. So we thought, let's bring in someone, a person who's been at the forefront of change and has created and contributed some iconic organizations. And I have personal pleasure to invite one and only Mr. Manoj Kohli. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Morning, Ankur. So delighted to be with you. And congratulations on your 11th birthday of Corporate Shiksha. I am so proud of you because, starting something so important for this country by you at the right time, I think will be so fulfilling for this nation, and especially the youngsters of the nation.
Thank you so much, sir. That means so much to all of us in the team. I've also given you the answer, but still, did you remember the first time when you'd come back from Africa for the first session? Thanks to Mr. Siddiqui for actually getting me connected to you. We got the opportunity to host you. Do you recall?
Yeah, I recall very fondly. Siddiqui is a great friend. Dwarka is a fantastic friend. These are very old friends who have seen industry grow, and Siddiqui, especially with Maruti, I think had contacted me, and then we did. As soon as I think I just come back from Africa, maybe a month or two later.
Yeah, about 6 months. I still remember. That video is still with me. I'm gonna put that out on our academy for all of you who want to watch it. Let's just get a quick sense, before I invite Manoj sir to share his opening comments. The reason why we are all here early in the morning, not so early in Manoj sir's definition, because he's an early bird like me. So we've done several sessions at 8 a.m. But why don't all of you who are on chat drop a comment of where are you joining in from? Let's get to see a little bit of interaction there. Manoj sir and I will be able to see your chat as well, all your comments, and we'll try and get as many of these questions, comments shared with. Um, we will keep the initial part with Manoj sir's opening address, and then we will open it up for interaction, and I will keep picking up I've got tons of questions, sir, already about. I don't think we'll be able to cover all of them. We have about 30 plus questions already of leaders. I have chosen some of them to come on video and ask you a few questions, and some others I will relay to you. But before we get started, I'll invite you to share what's on your mind. The theme for today is how can organization be built for the India at 100, right? So we say leadership now is probably a challenge, but if we have to achieve our goal to become, what the Prime Minister has given us a vision, what would it take for, companies to be created for India at 100? And what kind of leaders, what are that magic formula in those people who will go on to create the India that we're going to be super proud of at 100? So I'll pass it on to you and looking forward to learning from you, sir.
No, thank you, Ankur. It's very delightful that we are talking about this very, very precious matter, because we haven't talked about this for about 1,000 years. And 1,000 years back, India was 35% of global GDP, and gradually over the last 1,000 years, India declined to 25% by the time British came, and then by the time we got independent, we came down to 3%. And then we were stagnant for a long, long time. And now, for the first time in the last decade, we have become number 5 economy in the world. And if God is with us, if everything goes well, next 3 years, we'll be number 3 economy in the world, which is still far away from being a developed nation or a developed economy. And that is what I think PM has initiated, the mantra of Viksit Bharat, which means developed nation, developed economy, with the many, many forecasts. But by 2047, we should be around $30 trillion from $4 trillion today. Now, that's a very ambitious goal, which means that the present leaders and the future leaders, young leaders, have a huge responsibility to take India to that very important goal of being a developed nation, which we were. But I think we lost it somewhere, and now we are coming back. And comeback is always tough. Comeback is always exciting. And I'm so happy that young leaders will participate in this excitement. Now, let me describe that. First and foremost, what is India at 100? As I foresee it, India at 100 is a developed nation. It has 30 trillion GDP. The per capita, of course, is maybe more than $10,000 or $15,000, which is still lower than the world. But because our population is very large, it is a middle income economy. And I feel that the focus on infrastructure, the focus on manufacturing, and overall, the biggest focus of India on technology, assimilation, technology massification, is most important for us to reach there. Now, there will be a social progress, because I think socially we have to become a society which is more a bonded society, living very happily with each other. A good governance society where the governance is strong and good governance is there, so that no wastage takes place and every rupee we earn is put to national cause. And of course, environmental stability, which is very, very important for this phase, because many countries in the West and even China have grown very well, but the environmental sustainability has been neglected to some extent. So it's very important that we move on a balanced path rather than just grow and grow without being sensitive about the environment. So that is what I see as the picture of India at 100. Now, there are 3 questions, Ankur, which you have raised, which are very important questions. First question you raised is that how do we cultivate adapted leadership? A leadership which is open, flexible, agile, and adaptive. And that is, I think, the most important question, because it is a leadership game. I mean, you can see it globally in politics as well as in corporations, that leadership today is getting weaker and weaker. And because leadership is weaker, Many countries are weak. Many companies are weak. So leadership development becomes a very critical measure of our success. And therefore, young leaders have to be grown and nurtured very, very consciously by all of us. I, as a leader, should grow 100 young leaders. You, as a leader, all of us have to grow young leaders into very, very high quality leadership talent. Now, what is that adaptive leadership? What are the characteristics of adaptive leadership? Number one, a leadership which is comfortable with size, scale, and speed. Now, because if you look at India's past, last 70 years, India has not been building large scale businesses, or India has not been working on a high speed. And these are very two important parameters of our future success. We need to get scale, global scale, and speed, which is at least same as the world. I'm so happy that iPhone 16 is being launched in India and the world together. And this is just a very small example of how India's speed should be at least the same, if not higher. On digital performance, India is outpacing the world, which is great. I think we have to finally start outpacing the world, and I think the talent which is coming up is fantastic, and I think they will outpace the world at some point of time. Second thing, as I said, good governance. India has not been seen as a good governance economy. A lot of money is wasted, a lot of issues, corruption, this, that. And that I think we have to put to bed by very good and very clean governance. And I'm saying this very early because that makes big companies, that makes large organizations, that makes very high quality, high performance organizations. The third area is area of technology. How fast we assimilate the leaders, how fast they assimilate technology themselves. For example, after 45 years of experience in the last year, I'm now in my 46th year of professional life. I'm learning drones, I'm learning AI, I'm learning robotics, I'm learning so many new technologies. So all leaders have to learn technologies themselves. Once they learn themselves, they will then mentor others, they will then coach others and help others, younger leaders, to develop. Now, other thing which leadership, adaptive leadership, has to really nurture is DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusivity, because everyone should be included in this fantastic mission of nation building. Everyone has to be, everyone, whether it's junior, senior, middle, doesn't matter. From wherever he or she is coming from whichever background, doesn't matter. He or she has to be fully committed, dedicated to the national cause of Viksit Bharat. That is what adaptive leadership I want to define as. Now, the second issue which you raised, Ankur, is the issue of how the leadership steers the organizations through uncertainty. And that really is tough. It's not easy because there's so many variables moving. There's so many moving parts that you have to really have a very good judgment as a leader. And that can be achieved through, personally, the leader himself or herself has to be very secure. If the leader himself or herself is secure, then he or she can easily adapt to the environment, easily cope with uncertainty. Because he or she will not see a personal angle in it. That's very important. And therefore, leader has to bring in, and that's what, if you remember, in Airtel, we brought in that a lean business model, a lean, agile business models, which are maybe first time in the world. And I'm seeing so many companies, and companies I have worked with very closely, whether it is Ola, whether it is Lenskart, whether it's Delivery, whether it's Zomato, so many companies have adopted a very lean, agile business model, which is very unique across the world. So therefore, if these brands go across the world, they will win. And Indian brands, Indian business models have to win because these business models are affordable. The other thing which is very important during uncertainty is a high performance work culture. Everyone is dedicated to the cause. Everyone is working hard and very, very focused way towards the objective. And that only good leaders can get, who will communicate, or let's say over communicate the mission to every employee, every dealer, every vendor, everyone, all stakeholders, day after day, with a focus on long-term transformation, not a short-term tactics or not a short-term transactions, etc., etc. And also reinforce the core values of the company and recognize people for following the core values. So I feel that in the uncertain situation, a good quality leader has to follow these some specific rules and also keep enhancing, or let us strengthening the technology, upgrading the technology, whether it is AI, whether it is ML, whether it is any other technology which is important for the business and for the employees to learn. The third question which you raised, Ankur, was also crucial: building resilient organizations for India at 100. I think that's most important for India, because organizations have to be so strong, futuristic, technology based, because technology impact in the next decade will be bigger than last 100 years. And therefore, all leaders have to be tech leaders. They have to personally learn technology. They assimilate technology in their business models, so into their business day-to-day life, digitize end to end, because that is the only way to rapid scale up, for a rapid scale up. And when we say scale up, we are not talking of 30 states of India. We are talking of many, many countries across the world, because every brand is going global now. Earlier, I remember when Airtel went global, 20 countries we added, it was very rare. But now, so many youthful brands are going global and winning, which is fantastic. I remember Lenskart taking over a Japanese eyewear company for 400 million. I mean, it is a remarkable achievement for Lenskart team, because Indian startup acquiring a Japanese company, I think, is a very rare phenomenon. But these phenomena will continue. I think you will see many more such acquisitions by Indian companies, Indian brands across the world. The other thing is the organization design. The organization design has to be very carefully crafted or shaped, because it has to have no duplication, no overlap. It has to be lean, based on AI support, so that employees actually can do higher order jobs, higher order, higher quality contributions they can make. And I feel it's very important this to be a very tangible business strategy of using AI for a lean organization design. And therefore, retraining of many employees will be required. Leaders have to retrain many, many thousands of employees in every company. But at the same time, leaders have to remember that AI and technology doesn't mean that EQ is lost, personal touch is lost, informality is lost. You know, actually, the personal touch will become far bigger, much more important for a leader. EQ will be far more important than IQ in the next 10 years or even 20 years, because the routine jobs, the routine work will be taken care of by technology. And leaders have to be more social, more close to people, and understand people issues, help them, support them for big success individually. And therefore, employees fully motivated will contact the customers every day, will be in touch with customers every day, understand customer. If employee you listen to, employee will listen to the customer. I think that's a very important rule for leadership, especially an authentic leadership. And that's what employees want. They want authentic leadership, which is secure and open, and which is vulnerable also, because leadership is not seen as superhuman. See, leadership also is a human being. He or she has weaknesses, like I have weaknesses, you have weaknesses. But he or she is open about weaknesses, so that you can secure, you can strengthen yourself. And And so this is how to build a resilient organization. Now let me conclude, because it's very important subject you raised, because from now to 100 years of India is a leadership mission. If leadership is strong, and if leadership nurtures young leaders who are high quality young leaders, I think this mission is not going to be so difficult. And we are very, very lucky and blessed that our leadership, our talent pipeline coming from small towns and villages is the best quality in the world. I don't think China has it. I don't think US has it. I don't think Europe has it. Our guys, young guys, boys and girls coming from small towns and villages are fantastic. They are hungry. They are tech savvy. They have aspiration to grow global. They want to do much more than anyone else in the world. They are well educated and they want to learn every day. And they also have strong middle class values of hunger, of humility, of hard work, and of course, of being honest. And I feel that this new entrepreneurial bug which India has come up to, and PM himself said that we want entrepreneurs and not employees, is really spreading like wildfire. Every young boy or a girl I meet, he or she wants to be an entrepreneur. And he or she wants to have employees with him or with her. And I think that will take India to its goal much faster. And I feel that the senior leaders, the only big job for senior leaders in this situation is to create a high performance, open, transparent work culture. Once they create that culture, all these young leaders who are coming up will come up faster than ever, because they are ready to come up and take more responsibilities, make more contributions. The senior leaders have to allow that, have to nurture that, have to encourage and motivate them, and make their passion and enthusiasm a part of life. So that's my conclusion, Ankur. I am personally very, very confident about India at 100. We will be a far bigger nation, far more developed nation, and with our citizens who are far happier than today. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, sir, for triggering so many thoughts. I think what you spoke of has so many triggers. I want to just, make you reflect on one thing, and then I will go to some of my friends who are waiting to ask you a question. And we'll pick up your questions also in the chat. So all of you who are logged in, feel free to put in the chat, and we'll come to you just in a minute. When you Manoj sir, you talked about the Airtel example of doing something which was never done before in telecom. You talked about some other startups as well, which have done things more leaner, more innovative thinking, right? I think innovative solutions is so at the root of why you did this. Is it true that adversity is a gift because you have limited means? You figured out things to do in a way which was not done before. How are these people doing things which were newer, more leaner, more effective? What was in your mind at that time when you were trying to create, or tell us what's on your mind on that?
No, Ankur, you're absolutely right. Adversity is very important in individual's life and company's life, because it's a great opportunity to shift, to pivot, to go to a new orbit. And that's what you're calling yourself, a new orbit. And I feel that Airtel hit that. But if you have to combine adversity with passion of young leaders, I think that is the right combo. Adversity with passion of young leaders, but directed towards a very, very strong mission. And that is what leads to great success. Only adversity cannot. But adversity is important. So what we did in Airtel, and I'm sure DP did it in Zomato, and Bhavish did it in Ola, and Piyush Bansal did it in Lenskart, just to give the same examples. That adversity, they converted into an opportunity through leveraging the passion of young leaders and giving them the right direction of leadership, market leadership. And market leadership is a fantastic goal to achieve through product innovation, through service innovation, through creativity of every leader, every young leader. I think that is what we all did.
Wonderful, beautiful. I'll get Bhanu in now. Just hey, Bhanu, welcome.
Hi, Ankur. Good morning, Mr. Kohli. Thank you for sharing your views. My name is Chidbhanu. I lead the people function for Razorpay. I actually have two questions, but I will put one for now, and then time permitting, I'll ask the second one. I'm often intrigued by leaders who come from working in leadership roles with large multinationals, large Indian conglomerates, and then they work with startups. I often wonder how they find the world of startups, dimensions of leadership in startups unique and different from other larger organizations that they have worked with. And hence wanted to ask you, in your experience, and you quoted some startups that you have very closely been working with, do you think there are some unique dimensions of leadership that founders, CXOs of young and growing startups should particularly focus on, which can have game-changing impact on the success of those organizations if those dimensions of leadership are mastered?
Bhanu, thank you for that great question. Airtel was maybe one of the first startups of India in 1994. And by the way, when I joined Airtel, it was a loss-making small company. And today, Airtel is 550 million customers in 20 countries. And the market cap is $110 billion. So, and similarly, the examples I gave, if you see all these unicorn examples, are similar. Now, the common characteristics are there in all these examples. First and foremost, as Ankur rightly said, adversity is very important. Adversity either in the company or in the industry or in the society, which means there's a need for telephony. There's a need for EVs. There's a need for eyewear. There's a need for, food delivery or whatever. There has to be a gap in the market which can be fulfilled by us. That is the starting point. After that, a very clear mission has to be laid down by the leadership. And that mission is the big driver, big driver of energy and success. And that mission has to be over-communicated. Everyone should imbibe it. Everyone should think about it. Everyone should wake up and sleep on that mission. Third thing is that there has to be a high-performance execution culture. You can't do these big things without execution. High quality and very sustained execution focus. And execution at the ground, which means everything you think at the top has to be converted into action at the ground. And if it doesn't, then what is the fun in building or let's say adopting a mission? And then after that, as I said to Ankur earlier, we have to build a unique business model which will be affordable to customers so that it's unique. It's maybe first time in the world. Business model has to be, we can't follow the old companies and follow the old business models which are obsolete now. And then of course our brand, it depends on whether you're B2C or B2B, brand has to be admired brand. I mean, Airtel, I remember when it became #1 brand across categories in India. That was my biggest success of my career. From ground zero, we made a brand which became #1. And I think brand is a huge achievement for all of us. Similarly, you look at new startup brands which are coming up so well, including Razorpay. And last but not the least, that high performance work culture. I feel if there is one difference between established organizations and startups, it's high performance work culture. Of course, that work culture has to be open, transparent, flexible, very supportive, very empowering to people, and where people should be allowed to make some mistakes, genuine mistakes, so that they can experiment and innovate. So these companies are building professional entrepreneurs. I think that is a very, very big mission many of these companies have taken. Now, there are hundreds of our professionals working, but they're working like entrepreneurs, as if they are entrepreneurs. The old corporations, the established businesses, do not do this, unfortunately. And that is the big change they have to bring in their own culture, in their own character. So I don't know, is this okay for you?
Thank you. No, perfect. This makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
Banu, what's your other question? Let's take that as well.
I'll make it very quick. This is more of a personal question on personal observations, Mr. Kohli. I see a lot of, I think a lot is spoken about Gen Z. Much less is spoken about, I think, a large tribe of leaders or emerging leaders who are in their mid-30s, early 40s, and who, if they shape their career right, could then be probably the CXOs or global leaders of future. But I see a huge emerging trend of burnout, stress, losing focus on where career is headed. And I often wonder, how will these leaders, including me possibly, how will we, survive and remain equally effective and take up larger responsibilities where maybe even higher stress will come in our 50s, 60s, and today, work and leadership extends to 70s as well. So I wanted to dip a little bit into your multiple decades of experience. What's your advice, message to such leaders in their 30s, 40s on dealing with this, and particularly looking at longevity of careers?
Yeah, so you use the right word, Banu, longevity. That's the right word. And that is why career is not a sprint. It is a marathon. I will complete 5 decades in next few years. And I think the only way to not only survive, because survive is a bit of a negative word, only way to flourish and inspire many others is to have long-term goals. I think that is one issue where I have seen many leaders in 30s and 40s have transactional goals, either about changing for money or changing for small changes in titles. Those are not the right goals. The goals have to be far bigger, of adopting a new technology, of adopting a new industry. I remember when I moved from manufacturing to telecom, I was asked that, why do you want to do telecom? You don't know anything about this new industry. I said, I'm absolutely right. I am taking a challenge that in 6 months, I will know everything about telecom. So it's a challenge, it's a risk, but it is also very, very positive at the end of the day, because you're taking up a challenge and challenges are always good for you. Then I remember I changed from telecom to renewable energy, and within 6 months I learned everything about solar and wind energy, because all these are fabulous areas. So first and foremost is have long-term goals. Second is refresh yourself regularly. And I have met many of my management trainees who have been recruited by me as management trainees who are, let's say, 45, 50, and they are either burnt out or they are not employed fruitfully. And I tell them, I said, why is the success of first 10 years seen by you as if it will continue forever? It will not continue if you don't refresh yourself, if you don't change your direction, if you don't look at future differently and adapt yourself to the new future. So the big problem in these 30s and 40s, Banu, is that these leaders are not refreshing. They are not rejuvenating themselves into something new, because the success of yesterday will not repeat itself. The success of tomorrow is a new success with new skills and new capabilities and a new leadership mantra. The old one will not continue. It's obsolete. Except the core values. The core values of honesty, hard work, humility will continue forever.
Thank you, sir. Very grateful for your inputs.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks for those triggers, Banu. Great questions. And I'm reflecting somehow unconsciously, when you do things for a while, you become comfortable and you start to do great at that, and unconsciously you become into that complacency unconsciously state where things are working, and then you forget to challenge yourself of what could be the next. But beautiful, I think. Thank you for sharing these responses, and thank you, Banu, for those questions. Let me bring Sandeep in now. Good morning, Sandeep.
Hey, morning, Ankur. Morning, Manoj. How are you doing?
Hi, Sandeep. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Always good to listen to you. I think a lot has been already discussed, talked about. I just had one question which I think I posted. I'm not too sure if that's reached Manoj or not, but I'll reiterate here. Look, I think a lot is all about future anticipation, and we are, the company that I'm in, I represent DCM Shriram, which you are pretty familiar with. I think one of the big pieces is going to be how do we take our business forward and leadership forward, which has, I won't say a bottleneck, but anticipating the future, anticipating what may happen, and getting ourselves ready for it is something that we've been is an area that we want to excel. Any thoughts around it, how some other companies, or in your mind what we need to be doing differently? Because finally it's all going to be how do we prepare ourselves well enough for the future.
Absolutely, Sandeep. I feel that first and foremost, your leaders in your company have to adopt a new mission for yourself. The first, most important, what your company wants to be in 2030. I think that mission has to be clearly discussed with everyone, picked up, all good ideas picked up, so that you articulate a very clear, simple mission. Once that mission has been articulated, adopted by the board, adopted by top management, adopted by the team, then you have to communicate this in a big way. Every employee should identify with it and understand that we are on a new mission and I'm going to contribute for this new mission. Third thing is that the entire board and the top management has to initiate strategies to achieve the new mission. What are the strategies? What are the investments? What are the growth plans? What are the expansion plans? What are the fundraising plans? So many things. Maybe there'll be 20 plans behind the mission to be initiated by top management. And those have to be given as singular responsibility to one professional each. So that each of those plans and projects are owned by one very high quality manager. And he or she owns it fully end to end, is empowered for it, and he's running. He or she is running. And then there has to be a tracking mechanism by the senior management that every week you track this, every fortnight, every month you track progress. And wherever there is a good progress, recognize and reward those young leaders. Wherever there is not so good progress, support them, give them more resources or whatever they need for making good progress. Now, this is, Sandeep, a huge cultural transformation in the company. Huge. And I'm telling you, people love this. Wherever I have done this, people love it. People really want to give their soul to it, give their heart to it. I mean, I'm sorry to give Airtel example again, but Airtel was able to face all the ups and downs in last, nearly 30 years. And I think biggest ups and downs in this industry. There are very few industries which have gone through this kind of up and down. Airtel was able to face it, cope with it, win in every up and down, only because its culture was very strong. Its work culture was transformation. People were owning the company's strategies. They were owning the company's goals. They were owning whatever projects they have to do. And they always did it with excellence. So motivating people, getting them to celebrate regularly. I remember I used to travel 15, 20 days a month. And by and large, it was for celebrations. We were celebrating every even a small win in Guwahati or Shillong or Kochi or in Nigeria, Abuja, or in Srinagar, I was present there. And we used to have big celebration, rewards, families used to come. So people felt very good, very happy that this is my mission. I am Airtel. I want to do this. It is not about Sunil Mittal. It's not about Manoj Kohli. It is not about them. It is about me. So I think this is the journey which I will like to suggest to you and many other established companies which have done so well in the past, but I think they should do better in the future with this kind of a approach.
No, thanks a lot. Look, many of our legacy companies, including the one that I'm working in, because we have spent so many years and have done well, as you rightly said, we started to believe that that's the only way to do, or that's the only way to do business, and that's the only culture. So I think, time comes wherein you got to shift and move ahead and start looking differently, So
I know,
well
I know.
said. Yeah.
I know, Sandeep. I was talking to an American company yesterday. I don't want to give a name. And that American company is a very large company, very successful, very profitable. But they suffer from a train incapacity. There's a train incapacity that we are very large, we are successful for the last 30, 40 years, we are profitable, hence we no need to change.
Yeah.
This is the only way to work. And that company is already getting into trouble. That company needs a lot of change and transformation. And it's all positive. All this change and transformation, you can see it as a threat and you can see it as an opportunity. In my view, it's an opportunity because the longevity of the company will be far greater. The success of the company will be greater. Success of each employee will be greater. So that's the way I look at it.
Absolutely, sir. No, thanks a lot. Thanks, Manoj. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Thanks, Sandeep. So I just want you to expand a little bit. When you said you were traveling 15, 20 days in a month and largely celebrating, so you were investing in employee morale or engagement, whatever we call it. How did your scorecard as a leader look like at that time? What were you driving? Because I'm sure intrinsically we all want to do that for our teams, but there are pressures, there are numbers that we are driving. How did in your mind you were able to invest so clearly on it? What was your boardroom discussions like, or what was in your mind at that moment?
So Airtel and all good companies have a balanced scorecard, always. So there is customer, there is employee, there is processes and systems, which is institutionalization of your systems as you scale up. And last is financial. Now the weightage could be 25 to each, or could be slightly different case to case or situation to situation. And we always followed that. And people were at the center of this company. People were right on the center of the success. And if people have to be at the center, then you need to be with people. When I say people, it's not only employees, it is also my dealers, my distributors, my vendors. Meet them, listen to them, understand their problem, solve their problem as early as possible. Because that is the job of a leader, to solve problems, to take away the stumbling blocks in the path of our employees, and so that they can win much bigger in future. And for that you have to travel. You can't be sitting in your office and doing all that. So in Africa I was traveling 17 countries. In India I was traveling all over 30 states, and my program every day was very fixed. First half, market visit, which is with the customers and distributors and dealers. Second half, financial review, and evening always celebrations. Big celebrations. Everyone is, rewards are being given, recognitions are being done, families are there, wives, husbands, children are there. They are also feeling happy that we are part of this company, we are part of this brand, and that's the way to do it. There's no other way.
Beautiful. I was watching this video, which was this special occasion of Airtel in the UK somewhere, I think Switzerland. I was listening to Sunil Bharti Mittal's remark about, and his daughter's remark about how the family was so invested, and not just for him, for everybody. That's phenomenal. I want to take a few more questions which I have received. There are tons of questions around building resilience, which you have covered a little bit. But I just want to, if there was a word cloud, a lot of people are asking, how do we build leaders who are resilient and emotionally more connected? So do you want to expand a little bit more on this aspect?
No, I think the feeling I have is that the younger leaders have to get more open and closer to their colleagues, because team spirit can only happen if you support people around you shoulder to shoulder, especially when if somebody, a colleague of yours, is not doing well. I think it is your duty to go and proactively help him or her, that I want to help you. You know, your somebody in your team is not doing well, or not able to rise to the occasion, not able to contribute as much as you expect. There has to be a reason. He or she is not doing it intentionally. So remove that reason, work closely, understand, well, is it a skill issue? Is it a team issue? Is it a resources issue? So I feel that things are getting much more sometimes, because maybe technology is being blamed for it, but blame is not on technology. Technology is only enabler to our scaling up or working faster. uh, People have to hold hands. You have to hold hands, because only way to win in future for leaders is to build teams and build winning teams. There is no place for individual excellence. You want to be John Wayne and Lone Ranger. There is no place for that. The teams have to win. Teams have to be nurtured, and teams will be nurtured if the leaders listen to the teams, understand problems, solve problems, and do it personally, with a personal, uh, with a very informal environment and a personal time. And this issue of Zoom, etc., is also a bit coming on the way, because I feel that leaders have to be personally traveling, personally going and meeting people and understanding. Yes, I mean, Zoom is important because I think you can't be there to meet everyone, but more and more personal touch. Informality is the only way where a company, where business is growing, can still retain its good culture. Informality, which means everyone is called by the first name. Leaders go around, walk around, meet people on their desks or in their wherever they're working, give them their personal guidance or mentorship, and so that next time they meet them in 3 months, those guys are doing far better. That is the job of a leader. So I feel that personal touch has declined, and maybe a lot of people have got a bit more materialistic. I think that has to be dropped.
Why do you think that has happened?
No, because a lot of people have become transactional or materialistic, or working for money, working for titles. I mean, all those things are side effects. That's not the core. The core is your leadership. Core is your impact. Core is your contribution. Core is how you are able to nurture and lift young people. If you are able to nurture and lift 100 young managers, I think your impact is so much more, and that will lead to profitability. That will lead to your growing and being a bigger leader. That will lead to your higher compensation. But you can't work for those things which are side effects. You have to work for the core.
Sure. Mayur has asked a very simple yet a deep question. And I'm thinking, what if from today, anybody who's an individual contributor who becomes a people manager, who's supposed to be a leader, if there was a short video of you, I was to broadcast everywhere in the world. And the question is, what is your definition of successful leader? So if a 60-second clip sort of was to be played, what would that be?
So a successful leader is a leader who has strong core values. I think that is a starting point. He or she is honest, humble, hardworking, and has a lot of hunger. Number two, a successful leader is who has a clear business mission and knows how to achieve that. Whether it's 1 year, 2 years, whatever the period, maybe 3 year mission or 5 year mission, a clear mission and clear pathway to the mission. And third thing is he is able to break up that pathway into individual responsibilities of individual leaders, younger leaders, young leaders. So that every leader, every manager in the company knows what to do, and he or she knows that this, if I do this, this will add up to the big goal. So he can connect his contribution or her contribution with the big goal. And the fourth thing is a leader who always supports bigger success, which means that he or she should be in touch with people, understanding the problems they are facing, not being able to achieve their specific KRAs or goals, and really gives them more resources, give them more advice, give them the right kind of strategy to achieve their goals. So he or she is always working with the weak employees. Very important. Because guys who are already strong are strong. But if you lift the weak employees up, the organization will become much stronger. And last but not the least, he or she is appraising performance very closely and giving rewards and recognition to high quality employees so that everyone in the company knows that what is being rewarded. High performance is being rewarded. Good governance is being rewarded. Good behavior is being rewarded. So these are some of the characteristics of a good leader.
Excellent. There are tons of questions. I'm biased to take a question from the live audience. So Mohit is asking, listening skills in leaders rather than I know it all. What would be your comments?
Very important. Nobody knows it all. Nobody is God. I'm not God. You're not God. And that is what I said. Authentic leadership is very important. If you don't know it, say that. I don't know it. If you made a mistake, say that. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't have a wrong intention, but maybe I took a decision which was not a good decision. At that point of time, it looked right to me, but now it's not right. So I have done that many times. I've openly said that I made a mistake. And I noticed that after that, many employees started saying it because they were not worried. They were not threatened by I make a mistake. Because everyone can make a mistake. And there were two rules of mistakes in Airtel. One was that you don't repeat the same mistake, make some new mistakes. And second was that when you find out that you made a mistake, cut the cost of the mistake on the same day. Don't wait till tomorrow. Because why to spend one extra day's cost? Cut the cost on the same day. And if you make a mistake with no wrong intentions, then it's fine. You're part of the company. You are empowered. You own the company. You own the brand. So listening, very important.
You reminded me of someone who told me the pulse check of the quality of a leader is how soon does she or he gets to know when something's on fire. If they're a great leader, people will immediately tell them, so they will have the capacity to make changes. And if they're not, people will try and work things out on their own in fear that we should not tell her or him, and they hear it after a point of no return and they're not able to fix things. Beautiful. Sonal from Esme Consumer has an interesting question. She's saying, how do you help people not fear tech like AI and instead help acquire the skills to do higher order work? I think that's kind of classic. Every time there's a big tsunami of change, people tend to have a fear and then not adopt it. Some insights on that, sir?
So, fear happens when you are not open or you're not secure. I feel to technology, all of us have to be open. And we have to have self-confidence that I will learn this technology, I will use this technology for doing a better job, and I will excel in this technology. This is an employee view, ideally. Leadership view has to be, I will inject the technology into the business. I, I will train or retrain every employee in the company. I will simplify technology transition for every employee in the company, every dealer, every distributor, every vendor of the company. If I have to do end-to-end digitization, I'll do that. So that, people look at technology as a friend, not as a foe. Technology is the friend. And I think people who don't adopt technology because of being fearful is really a leadership failure.
I have a very interesting question from Rashmi Bhatt. And she's saying how political acumen, and I say this in a very positive way, not knowing how to handle egos of self and others and expectations can be a big setback. I'm building on what you just said, being vulnerable, being confident, and being open. You do get attacked from, outside. So how is this dimension to be dealt with?
So, no, I don't think you will be attacked, let me tell you. Because if you build an environment which is open and which is nurturing, you will not get attacked. You will get attacked if the environment is full of animosity. Obviously, that environment is political, and that will harm many employees. And I think that's a leadership challenge, that he or she has to build an environment which is nurturing, which is positive, which is happy, which is high performance at the same time. And genuine problems are listened to and solved. And if somebody says that, I have this weakness, and, I'll tell you, I've had many senior managers who, even senior leaders, presidents, who had some weakness in finance. But I never considered that as a weakness. I helped him to learn. I also helped him or her to have a very strong CFO under him, so that weakness can easily be plugged by a strong CFO under him. But he's so good in 100 other things. But that doesn't mean one weakness or two weakness doesn't mean that he's a weak manager or a weak leader. We have to help such such risk to be mitigated. And that is a leadership approach, which is positive.
Interesting. But do you believe that in Indian organizations, there is this challenge of people, not the leadership level, maybe -1, -2 levels, where there are managers which are sandwiched between team members and higher colleagues? The whole space becomes a little bit political, where, while the intent is something, but the action is completely different.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So I'll tell you, I find the three big enemies of good culture: bureaucracy, hierarchy, and politics. And I, as a leader, used to always kill these three every day. Because if these three, or any one of these three, take root in the organization, it is very harmful to the organization. It is very harmful to the culture. So the senior leadership, and that's why I said leadership has to be very secure. If they are secure, they will kill wherever they see a bit of politics, they'll kill it. Wherever they see a bit of bureaucracy and slow responses, they'll kill it. Wherever they see hierarchy being used, which is very unnecessary in a modern organization, they will kill it. You have to kill these enemies if you want a high quality work culture.
Beautiful. I'm conscious of your time, sir, and I want to stay on time. So my final question is from Manas. Manas has asked a very interesting question, and it's interesting in a lighter note, as a good segue into my commercial slide of selling our membership and programs as well. But jokes apart, his question is: aspirants of CXO, MD, CEO roles. So leadership -1 and 2. How would they upskill themselves? Do they need to enroll themselves in any advanced courses or something else? What's the foremost He's also saying that roles are demanding 24/7 at that stage and are stressful. Is work-life balance a myth at that level?
Okay. I've passed through this many times, and I'll tell you how I handled it so that I don't want to give you a theoretical answer. I want to give you a real life answer. So, firstly, you have to do a job which is bigger than your present job, always. You can't be doing your job if you want to grow. You have to do a bigger job from your existing job, which means that your management should always be eager that this guy actually is doing more than he should do. Secondly, you have to learn much faster. Your learning agility has to be fantastic. I mean, I remember, as I said to you, when I got into telecom, my boss gave me that a 700-page document and say that in 4 weeks you have to sign this $400 million network contract. So please start studying this. I didn't understand anything about it on that day. But within a month, I understood so much more, which means that you have to really learn faster. And you have to learn 3-4 levels above you. Learn the strategies, think strategically, think about bigger goals, think about world environment, think of geopolitics, think of technology, think of climate change, think of so many things, both opportunities and threats, which may not be right for your present job, but they are very important for your tomorrow's job or day after's job. And third thing is that this issue of 24/7 or of burnout and work-life balance can be managed. I managed it. I cut down all the social kind of things which were unproductive. I was either working or with my family, because these were my two goals of life: a happy family, happy workplace. And rather than try to achieve 10 things in life, I thought, let me do these two things in a big way. So I never had a situation of burnout or work-life balance, because I was balancing it, because I cut down all the B or C category things which I was trying to do. A lot of people spend so much time on the social activities which actually are unproductive. Now, if they think it is important, that's fine. I'm not stopping anyone, but I'm just saying that you have to prioritize your life and prioritize your time, and hence you will find that you have enough time for everything. Everything you feel is important for your future.
Beautiful. And I'm just triggered with one more comment by Mohit Kapoor. He's saying now AI is not just intelligence, it's also wisdom, political quotient, so much, a lot more. So, with this context, how do you see leadership evolving? What must executives do to integrate this non human intelligence while ensuring they stay competitive and maintain their unique human edge? I think brilliant question to
Very,
end.
very important question, because I believe very strongly that in the era of AI, ML, and so many more technologies coming up in the next 10, 20 years, the leaders have to be far more EQ oriented, far more sensitive, empathetic, and closer to people, understanding people, because your contribution will lead to huge success of the business, because technology will take care of the routine day to day, but you will inspire through your personal touch, you will inspire through your social touch, you will lift up people to the next level of performance through your personality, through your support. And I think that is the leadership edge of the future.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, sir. Cannot be grateful enough for all that you have done for us in the past and continue to support us. This means so much. And I think this session is indeed extremely helpful. There are so many nuggets of insights that we will now circulate, and this whole episode is going to be on the academy for people to log on to. I think a brilliant piece for any new manager to must go through and listen in to your perspective, and great questions by everyone. And I'm sorry that I couldn't take all of the questions, but these are good triggers for us to take on the conversation forward. Thank you so much for kicking off the Orbit Shift beginning. This is the inaugural session series. So with this month, we open gates to a membership, because we feel while leadership could be a lonely affair, but it doesn't need to. It can change. So we are building a ecosystem, a community where you, as individuals as well as organizations, can come on board, and we'll be hosting some amazing conversations like this in months to come. Every month, you will have multiple such opportunities. And like Manoj sir mentioned, it will not be just virtual. There will also be a balance of both in person as well as online. I think the balance is the keyword that I'm taking away from this conversation. Manoj sir, thank you so much for being with us, and wishing you great health, and hope you continue to inspire so many entrepreneurs, so many leaders to believe that longevity is the key, and you can forever be young. In your 60s, you're doing, I think, a lot more than what you were doing earlier with so many juggling. So super inspired and proud of what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Ankur, thanks a lot and good luck for Orbit Shyft. I'm sure you will shift many, many orbits. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Now,
bye.
Just a quick, thank you, sir. Just a quick commercial break to talk about what we are doing. I think let me just call out some programs that we are offering in the next couple of months. So if you are looking for learning from leaders and senior practitioners, there are a few programs coming up for total rewards, talent acquisition, strategic HR business partnering, and for across all functions, people who want to lead pivotal conversations. So look up more details on our website, corporateshiksha.com/programs. And the most special bit is our membership. So if you are an individual who's looking to accelerate and navigate your growth, be it within the organization or personally shifting orbit in your mind and your skills, we think this is an interesting package of opportunity where we have a balanced approach of giving you tons of video resources where we go into the minds of leaders and give you perspective on demand whenever you feel like on any device. And then right now within India, with Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi NCR as location, we're going to be hosting multiple in-person leadership forums where we will have opportunity to meet with each other, have conversation with senior leaders. That's going to be another opportunity. And then, of course, an ongoing series of virtual dialogues with leaders, just like the one we did today. It's going to be an opportunity for all the members to log in. The next one is a special conversation again, like we were talking to Manoj sir today. The next session for this series is going to be with Vivek Gambhir. Vivek is the general partner for Lightspeed India and the chairperson for Boat Lifestyle, another iconic challenger company coming out of India. And we will have a conversation with Vivek on how to shape the next generation of leaders. On that note, thank you so much for being with us today. I hope this was more than worth your time, and look forward to seeing you on the other side.